I'm very excited about this program because while I was a former history major, what can I say? We've been working for a couple of years to try and put something like this together. The Iowa City area is rich in institutions that collect and protect all of our local history. We are home of the State Historical Library. We also have the Johnson County Historical Society. So as a library, we have not collected a lot of physical items. We have some particularly pertinent to Iowa City, you know, a lot of old budgets and city directories, if those kinds of things interest you. But the really good stuff is out in those other collections, and they aren't things that we've ever done. But with a generous gift from the Lions Club, we were able to buy equipment this year and start on a digital heritage initiative. So we're going to move on, and you're going to learn more about that. The first two brief speakers will be Dell Brown from the Noon Host Lions Club, where Irving Weber was a member for many, many years, and Alexandra Draymond, who is the Executive Director and Curator of the Johnson County Historical Society. And after they speak briefly, we'll have two of our own librarians, Candace Smith and Melody Dworak, did I say that right? Who are the go-getters and the movers behind this project, with also thanks to James Clark, our webmaster, and the two managers in the Collection Services Department and Adult Services Department, Maeve Clark and Ann Mangano. So, Dell.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to talk a little bit about Irving Weber and his association with Lions Clubs. He joined the Lions Club in about somewhere in the middle 1930s, and the Lions Club itself was started in 1920. And one of the reasons it was started is because there were other service clubs within Iowa City, but they were composed of businessmen who had been established members in the community, and they were aged a little bit like myself, and these were young men, and so they decided they wanted a different organization, and so they contacted the Lions Club, and it became a Lions Club in 1920. Irving himself showed leadership within the club by being president in 1936-37, and being a district officer, which was called a zone chairman, in 1942 to 43. And you're not old, most of you are not old enough to remember, but during those times, there were no paved streets. There were no gravel roads. It was mud roads. And so some of the stories he told were about the stories that he went to different meetings, not only in Lions Clubs, but traveling around with his dairy products on mud roads. And one story entailed how long it took him to go from Rock Island to Iowa City when it was raining and the road was very, very muddy. He traveled at 5 miles an hour. So you can determine yourself how long that would have taken him to travel that way. He had an active interest in what the club did and new members. And every time a new member would join a Lions Club or a new person would come, Irving would eventually get around to asking, "Where do you live?" And that was a mistake for that person to tell him where he lived, because then Irving would start in about the house that the person lived in and who lived in it before and the complete history of that house. Irving had a fabulous, fantastic memory for that kind of thing. One of the interesting things about Lions Club is we meet weekly. And by the way, I do have application blanks if anybody's interested. And we usually get a speaker from the community to tell us what's going on in the community. And this happened in the 1940s also. And Irving thought to himself, well, this organization is an international organization. Why do we just have programs on the local businesses and that kind of thing? So he wrote a letter to the president of the club at that time and said, very tactfully, and he was very tactful, why don't we try to get some speakers that are tell us about the international activities, what's going on in the world. And so they've tried to do that, and that we've continued that. Irving liked to have fun at the club, and invariably there are jokes told at the club. And a joke typical of the time and kind that he enjoyed was about a wife who hit her husband with a frying pan. And the husband said, "Why did you do that?" And she says, "I found this note laying on the table. It was from Jenny, and I just don't like that." And he kind of laughed it off, and, "Oh, I was playing the horses, so Jenny is a horse's name." Well, the next night, she found another note, and she hit him again. And he says, "Well, why did you do that?" She says, "Your horse is on the phone." So, one of the things I brought along, and this doesn't belong to Irving, is this. Those of you who know Irving, he typically rang a bell every time he went out to speak. And this started because he was an Olympic swimmer, the University of Iowa first all-Olympic American swimmer. And he went to the games in Japan. And he noticed that they started the swim meets by ringing a bell. So he decided he was going to do that, and as far as I know, as long as he was alive, he did start the swim meets here in Iowa City with the ringing of a bell. But he also liked to take that along when he spoke. When we started printing the Irving Weber books of Iowa City history, we typically put them out for sale in December, because December 19th was Irving's birthday. He was born December 19th, 1900. And he liked to have something new coming out around his birthday time. So we would go out in the malls and have a table set up to sell books. Well, when the crowd first there was a fairly large crowd, people wanting books and wanted him to sign the books, and he did. And when the crowd started to get a little thinned out, he would stand over there. That brought a lot of people in, and so we sold a lot of books that way. He was one that never wanted to collect the money for them. In fact, he never collected any money himself from the sale of the books. As a matter of fact, Darrell Albright, who was from graphic printing, tells the story that Irving actually bought books himself to give away to his friends and relatives. So Irving was a very giving man. One of the things I want to tell you about his hat. He always had a hat, and long before I officially met Irving Weber, I saw him in a store one day, and there were a group of ladies. He took off his hat and tipped it, and I thought, my goodness, there's nobody does that anymore, you know. And he was quite a gentleman in doing that. But I had the occasion one time to give a speech in honor of someone in his place because he had pneumonia. So I asked to borrow his bell and his hat. And he said, "Well, why on earth do you want to do that?" And I said, "You're known for the bell and the hat, and I've got to have them, you know." So he reluctantly let me have them for that occasion. And I didn't even look at the hat until we got time to give the speech. Then I looked inside the hat. Inside the hat, around the hat band, was a little label that said, and this is not typical of Irving Weber, but what it said is, "Like hell this hat is yours, it belongs to Irving B. Weber." You know? So I don't think he wanted to lose his hat. Like I said, he liked to have fun, and he told the story of a ladies' night, what they called a ladies' night, because at that time, women were not allowed in a service club, particularly Lions, not until 1987, when they finally got around to allowing women to join. And like I said, I do have application blanks, so anyway. They had a ladies' night where they took their wives and spouses and all that to a fancy restaurant, a dinner, hotel probably. And this one occasion, they finished the dinner, and this was in the 1930s. And the master of ceremonies got up and said, now we're going to have some rare entertainment. And so he left and walked out the door, and pretty soon here comes the mortician in pushing a coffin, and rolled it wide up in front, opened the thing, and there was a person inside the coffin. And so the women began to think, well, we didn't come to a funeral, we just came for entertainment, And so the minister got up then and started going on about the evils of alcohol and how you shouldn't drink. And this poor man in there his name was John Barleycorn. And this was right after Prohibition was revealed. Anyway, the man inside the coffin was not dead. And all of a sudden he raised up and said, "Bring me my whiskey." And so that was a form of entertainment that they enjoyed that type of. The club usually celebrated his birthday in December, in honor of his birthday on December 19th, and would usually invite children in from either the members themselves or children from a daycare center, wherever, and we'd have ice cream and cake. Irving loved ice cream, and so we always had ice cream in December. He was really pleased that a school was named after him, because he said, I don't know of anybody that's alive that a school has been named after them. So he was really pleased with that. He kept the club up on his health of his wife Martha and the family, and we enjoyed that. And he was a active, community-oriented person, which exemplified the characteristics of our Lions clubs. And because of that, our Lions Club initiated a special award that we give each year to a member who exemplifies the characteristics of Irving Weber and another member, charter member of the club, James Stronks. And he was a really community-orientated person. And so we present an award, and we call it the Stronks Weber Award. And that's a really distinguished award to give someone in the club. And in conclusion, I would say this: Irving would be extremely pleased with the work that's going on with digitizing the preservation of the history of this area. As he often said, I'm just an old man with a good memory. But we, as Lions and people of this area, will say thanks, Irving Weber, for helping us to remember the past and preserve the local history of the future. Thank you.
My name is Alex Drayman. I'm the director and curator of the Johnson County Historical Society. Unfortunately, I don't have any great stories to tell about Irving Weber. However, I do want to take the time to thank the Iowa City Public Library and the Lions Club for providing the Johnson County Historical Society with this opportunity to digitize the collections that we do have. We are very short-staffed and we are unable to do this on our own. I have tried to take it upon myself to make it happen, and it's a very arduous and strenuous activity as the ICPL has known. So for us to be able to put our images that we've received online is fantastic. And again, I just want to thank all of the organizations involved to be able to provide us with this opportunity, and hopefully we can continue to do this as well. The images and whatnot that we've provided to the Iowa City Public Library involve about 300 images about urban renewal, which right now has been one of the most popular collections that have been dug into at the Historical Society lately. I've been with the Historical Society for a year, and I've probably had about 5 or 6 people come in and want to look at that collection specifically. due to the things that are happening downtown and, you know, everything else. So for these to be able to be publicized and put out to everybody to be able to see is fantastic. Not, you know, they can come and see it at my place, but, you know, it's always so great to be able to see it, not in just a little slide form, but in, you know, a digitized form. So again, like, we just want to take the time to thank both of the organizations that are helping us provide us with this opportunity, and it's huge for us, and hopefully we can continue to do this. The most slides that we gave you it's about 300 slides about urban renewal for Iowa City. And those were provided to us by the photographer, Theo Lindley. In 2004, we acquired the collection, and we have provided that to the Iowa City Public Library to digitize, and now that's what's going to be available, in addition to a couple other collections that are important to the history of Iowa City and Johnson County. And so now that they're available to everybody to view at their leisure, it's much easier because they can see them whenever they want, as opposed to having to come and track us down and, you know, try and get time with us, which is, I know, is hard. We appreciate this, and it is, we understand how hard it is to be able to do this, because I'm trying to undertake a digitization process at our place, and it is hard and time consuming, and as much time as I'd like to put forth to digitizing all of our archives, it's just not possible. So the fact that the Iowa City Public Library and the Lions Club has provided us with this opportunity to do this is huge and amazing for us. And also the cooperation between the three organizations is, you know, amazing, and we again say thank you for that. We hope to continue to work and get more collections online. I'm willing to, you know, provide whatever, as I would hope that you folks would as well, and put in the work to make it possible for everybody to view these things. Our mission at the society is to interpret and provide the history of Johnson County to our community. That is not seen for everybody, but as if we can get it out there online, easy access, it's going to get more and more involvement and more activity, and more people will be very excited to see these things. That's really all that I have to say, and I just want to thank both of the organizations, and this whole project is just so great to be a part of, and I hope we can move further on in this venture together. So.
If you'll just bear with me a couple minutes, I also have a little preamble before we actually get to the website, because there are a few people I'd like to thank. First of all, the Lions Club. They were very generous in giving us a grant, and that's what we used to purchase the scanner that we began scanning the items with at the beginning of the project. And it was always a very fitting thing, because Irving Weber loved history, and that's what this whole project is about. But even more fitting knowing that he tried to give his books away, because that's essentially what we do too. So the Lions Club has been very supportive in our endeavor with that, and it's just a great relationship to have. Second, the Johnson County Historical Society for lending us the materials that Alex just talked about. The library reached out to them about a year ago, and they picked a few types of items that they thought would have a high local interest, and those are the things that we're working with at this point. But as Alex said also, and I'm very eager to know what else we would be able to get on the website as well. So I think that's another very bountiful relationship that will just continue, and that's fantastic. And then here at the library, I just want to mention a couple people. This is a whole new type of collection. We don't have anything like this at the library before, so that means a very high learning curve, and we've had a lot of administrative support from Susan Craig, Maeve Clark, and Ann Mangano. They've been supportive and very patient, so I'd like to thank them for that. They've guided us, and they let us find our way, allowing us to decide some things and letting us know when we could use some help deciding things, or things like that. We've had a lot of tech support from various people. James Clark, Bondrager, Todd Brown's helped a little bit, whether they're actually doing something with the site or we're asking them a lot of questions. We've had that support from them. And then we've had people in our graphics who've helped us design if you see the bookmarks over here, the logo for the site, and you'll see it on the website. And our PR department's done a quick bang-up job of getting the word out and sending the story out to newspapers and things like that. So, and last but not least, Melody Dworak, who just started working here in January and got this, and she's got a load of energy and enthusiasm, and she's tech smart, and she's the one behind the site that I'm about to show you. She's been working pretty relentlessly on it, and she comes to me with questions, and I go, I don't know, I'm not sure. I'm just supposed to talk to the people. So she's been wonderful, and she's done a fantastic job, and I think she'll make me look pretty good up here. So without further ado, I'm going to show you the website. All right. This is the Digital History Project. Right here at the top, I just have to call out this graphic that Mara Cole made in our graphics department. I think this is a fantastic logo, and I was just telling our board a little while ago, and I think this is just a great example of the kind of work that people do here. We gave her a list of different words that different people in the library wanted the logo to reflect, and this list has, from Melody and I, old-timey, and from Susan, hip it up. And she came up with this fantastic thing, and I think it's just a wonderful image. And you'll notice in here, the 3 photos that are in the little film strip here, we've got the old public library, we've got the old Capitol, and then we've got people, and I think that's just a wonderful representation of what this whole project is about. The library, the city, and everybody in it. Moving on, this is the main page of the website. Our URL is history.icpl.org. I'm going to go just a little bit through the navigation really quick, and then we'll get into looking at some things. The front page will always have this featured item, which rotates. It'll just be a photo that changes each time you come to the website, and then a few of the most recently added items. Over here on the left, you have the different ways of navigating throughout the collection, including a search bar. The browse items, I'm going to take you to first. That's what will tell you how many things we have. And this ends up just being a list of items in order of when they've been added to the site, I believe. Another thing you can do is browse by tag. The tags are keywords that we've assigned to the photos, and they can be really specific or very general, and they can have more than one tag. So a photo may have demolition, people, car, and houses, if all those things are in there. And so this is a way of finding collections of photos that have unique but things in common, but that you normally might not group together. And the tagging is a work in progress all the time, and some of the photos right now have tags and some don't. That will change. The larger tags are the ones that most photos have those tags attached to them. You can browse collections. This is where we will have the items arranged by the collection as they were given to us. So, for example, we have Johnson County Historical Society, because those are the collections we have so far. And if you click on those, you can see just those items. Eventually, we'll have more collections in there. The Iowa City Public Library one is one that we're curating the collection itself. So it's a different kind of collection than the one from this organization, but I think those are the 2 types that we'll end up having there. Exhibits will be, well, like it says, exhibits. These will be special temporary sort of displays on the website of items that we pick from amongst the whole total of items, and they will be things that maybe have something in relation to current events or a seasonal or timely thing. Right now, Melody went to great work to put together an exhibit of the public library building through the ages. So we've got some wonderful photos here. And she's gone through and added quite a bit of data to each of them, which, as we'll see, most of the other photos don't have as much right now. But this is just a great example of what the exhibits will look like on here. And then these other 2 links here, the About is where we will list our partners and a little bit about the development of the site. And then the collection tree is just another way to view what we have there. And here's where you see those 3 different items or collections of items that the Historical Society has given us. That's included in the Johnson County collection. So now that I've gone through all that stuff, let's look at some photos. When you find one that you want to take a look at, you can click on the title or click on the photo. And this is where our wonderful scanner comes into play, is that you go in and you see the brief description that we've given to it. Some of these will be pretty vague at this point if we don't know a whole lot about it. And then you'll have a photo down here. You can click on that photo and you get a great high-res copy of it. And then this view allows one more level of zoom on the photo. It's really nice. I think that that comes in really handy when you're looking at photos of people, because you can, this is the one I like, zoom in, and who knows who you'll find. And so this is the Black Hawk mural, of course. And then, who are those people? I don't know, but somebody might. And now you can see it. It's an amazing scanner. And again, that's from the Lions Club grant that we got. Are there any particular ones you want me to show?
I like the horse and buggy ones
Okay.
myself, but those are a little harder to see since the quality of the photo. The older you go back, depending on how well the photo was. Sorry.
No.
With the horse and buggy photos, one of the issues with trying to preserve these is that we start with the quality of the photo that we get, and then we add another layer of what kind of quality can we get from the scanner. So some of these are a little harder to see depending on what stage they were in to begin with. That is the library. I think there's a tag for horse and
That's
buggy.
where I am.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, there's I thought there was an Iowa Avenue one.
Click on the one with that second from the bottom one.
This one?
That's a real interesting one.
Oh, well, yes.
Yeah.
Streetscape and the sign.
Yeah.
And just as a.
Okay.
We had a question that came in, years ago about the Dresden China shop. And this is the sign for the Dresden China shop. And we had to find the photograph and scan it and send it to them. And then we had this resource then, it just would have been so wonderful. And I think that once people start to see these things, it will just be amazing. It's such a different view of Iowa City.
Well, that reminds me, thank you for reminding me of what I meant to say, is that another really important part of all this is down here at the bottom of each photo is this form that we have where people can sign in and add information. So, and we want all kinds of information. We're hoping that people can help us identify things, but we're also hoping people can just tell us a little bit about what they may know, whether they know exactly what it is or just it means something to them, because part of what this is about is finding out things, but it's also sharing the story of all of those things. It's one way we hope to get some community interaction, because we want it to be more than a site that you just go to and click through all the pictures. We want people to kind of hang around on it and interact with it and help us build it and feel some ownership of it. Another thing that we'll eventually be adding to it is that we'll have a form where people can submit items to us through the web, so photos and possibly in the near future some oral history element that we'd like to add to it. So right now, it pretty much all looks just like this, but we have grand visions for it.
Video.
And video. Oh, and well, yes, and we have video.
Can I show one more before? the
Yes,
video? Search for the vine.
the vine. Okay, so I'm doing a search for the vine. Oh, yeah.
So, my favorite story about thinking of why this project is important, I was on Twitter one night and I was just sort of killing some time watching the tweets come in, and then I see this reporter from the Gazette say I can't believe I've spent so much time doing this research, and I've spent hours on this all day, and I finally found the resource at the public library. And he was talking about a city directory, which we can look up like what businesses were where, because he was trying to verify, is the Vine in a historic building? Is it in a historic location? And then after I started looking through all of these files, lo and behold, here's the vine. And so it's great, because this building was being torn down nearby, the photographer, Theo Lindley, got a photo of the vine, and so we can see its sign right there. So that's one of my favorite photos.
Well, a great example of how, we hope that people will use this to find that kind of random detail, but also just all the people that it can affect, and making it online means that many more people have access to it. I think we'll probably have some sort of counter on here that tells us where hits to the site are coming from, and I'm excited to see just how wide it can get. That's very exciting. So we hope to get a lot of people sending us things. We also have some items in our own reference collection that we'll move on to digitizing, including what Melody just mentioned, the old city directories, which we receive calls from several times, many times a year. They go back into the late 1800s and then through the rest of the century. And just to be able to put those up, I think people will be wowed. Because I still am, when I'm trying to find some detail about history and I find that it's online for free and I can just look at it, that's amazing. So we'll move on to scanning some things in-house and adding those to the site. And then we also hope to get things through programming that we have plans to do in the future, including scanning days where we invite the public to come in to learn how to scan some of their things, but we also hope to maybe scope out some interesting related things that we could add to the website. And then the conservatorship program that Susan mentioned earlier that we'd hope to do next year, I could see that being a similar sort of way to get people bringing things in. And then reaching out to different groups in town, because clearly just working with the Lions and the Historical Society shows how important that is to build those relationships. So I look forward to talking with a lot of different groups and seeing what they will loan us. Any questions at this point? Wait, yeah?
Hang on, Dale.
Oh, microphone.
When you scan, how long does it take to scan a photo and digitize it, and so that it ends up on there?
I will let Melody explain that because she does all of that
Well,
very well.
I don't do all of that, but I know what goes into the process. So this scanner is a pretty powerful scanner. So it's the more powerful scanner you have, the faster it's going to scan. So my print scanner at home might take a minute for it to go through and send the file to my computer. And then the scanner that we have now is much faster than that. I have, on my own projects, I've scanned, when I'm doing one photo by one photo, I've done about 50 in 2 hours. And with bigger scanners, you can lay out multiple photos, and it will just kind of detect the corners for you, so it'll split up the files for you. And again, you can do that much faster. We did have an intern start on Monday, and he's been helping us out a lot with getting all of the information into the website. And so that's, for me, that's kind of the bigger heft of the project, is making sure we have all of that information in there and correct. So yes, the scanning takes time, but also making sure we can identify it and get the information in there takes time too.
I have just a little Weber interlude for you. Melody, come back up. What is your association with Irving Weber and scanning?
Well, in, 2006, I worked for the public library as a reference page from about 2001 to 2006. And at the end of my stint in the page station, I scanned the photos for Irving, not the photos, sorry, the newspaper articles that are now in the Iowa Digital Library. And I might end the story there, just because this is being recorded.
But that was we had, Lolly Eggers, the former director of the Iowa City Public Library, had all of the articles, every article that Irving Weber had ever written for the Iowa City Press Citizen. And the University of Iowa had already digitized all of the books, but we wanted them to have the complete collection. So Melody has a close relationship to Irving Weber. It all comes back to Irving and local history.